everyone. Thank you for joining me on this session. I'm Alison and I'm a hub officer with Higher Horizons. So my job is to help you make some well-informed decisions about your future choices with your GCSEs, further education, so sixth form or college, and higher education, so that can be university and apprenticeships or other qualifications. So today I'm going to be talking about higher education, university. And as you can see on the slide, we're talking about Oxbridge, Russell Group, and top ranking universities. So I don't know if you've heard of Oxbridge or Russell Groups before, but all will be explained shortly, don't worry about it. So, first of all, the aims of the sessions. So, we're going to be looking at the different types of universities that you might not have heard of. We're going to think about why our GCSE options and grades are so important. We're going to think about your progression through to further and higher education, so that's sixth form, college, university, that kind of thing. And we're going to set some goals for moving forward. So, we're not just leaving this session at the end of the video. We're going to implement what we learn. So, some things to remember just at the start, I'm going to say the best university is the one that suits you. So, you need to look at the campus, look at the university, the course, everything around that is what suits you. It's not what is ranked the best, whatever. It's all about you, it's your choice. So, rankings and league tables can inform you and guide your decision, but make sure it's right for you. And all degrees are equal regardless of where you go. If you go to Oxford or Cambridge, if you go to a Russell Group, or if you go to another university, you're finishing with a degree, which is amazing, and they're valued the same. It's just about your experience while you're there. So there's different types of universities, and there's different ways we can kind of categorize them and put them into different groups. So it can be looked at by age. So there's ancient universities. So these are the ones that you might have heard of: Oxford, Cambridge, Edinburgh's one as well. So these are really old buildings. They've been around for decades, long time. Um, there's also red brick universities. These came around in like the Victorian era. So often they're made with red bricks, which is how they get their name. So they're still quite old. And then another category of age that there is post 92. So these are more recent. 1992, they were formed into universities. They may have been teaching before, but that's just when they became universities. And they're often differentiated by their reputation and leaderboards. So I'll go into that in a second. So first of all, Oxford and Cambridge are some of the most well-known universities in the world at this point. So reasons that you'd want to go to these Oxbridge universities is what they're shortened to, because they're quite similar. There's a few differences, so if you want to apply in the future, you can research the difference between them, but for the sake of this, we're going to categorize them as one because they are very similar. So these two universities are world leading. If you look at across the world, people will have heard of these and they'll know that they're really good places to get an education. And they're historic. You can see their buildings are very old and very pretty. And they've been around teaching for decades and decades, which is why people trust them with their education, because they've been doing it for so long, they've got really good at it, basically. So because of the world-leading status that they have, they're highly competitive. As I said, people from across the world know these universities. So many people are applying. You need to get the best grades that you can. You need to have great application, show your interest in the field, just to get an interview for these. So a lot of people apply, a few get interviews, even fewer get places. So it's a really tough process. But if you want to do it, go for it completely. There's nothing stopping you. You can go to these world-class universities if you put your mind to it. So people want to study at these universities because the teachers are really great. So they're expert tutors. Tutors at universities, they spend part of their time doing research in their field and part of the time teaching. So all of your teaching is led by the research that they're doing. So what you're being taught is the most recent information. And that's really exciting, and that's why university is great. You get really close tutor supervision. So at most universities, you'll have groups of about 10 to 15, maybe 20 students, and you'll have all of your seminars together where you talk through the material for the week. The difference with Oxford and Cambridge is they have close tutor supervision. So instead of a room of 10, 15, 20 students, it is likely to be one-to-one, or maybe two students, one tutor, and you'll go through the content like that. So each week you're under the pressure of having a one-to-one conversation or a two-to-one conversation with an expert tutor. So because of that, you get a great education. You're really pushed. You have to do a lot of work, um, but your education benefits from it because it's a really intense process. And there's a high workload. So some courses you'll be writing an essay every single week, um, and that is a high workload. But again, because you're writing so many essays, it'll become just a process that you go through, and it'll really push you to do your best and make the best essays that you can. Or if it's not an essay-based subject, you'll be doing a high workload every week. Moving on to Russell Group universities. So you can see at the side here, there's a list, and a lot of them are called University of Birmingham, University of Bristol, University of Cambridge, University of Edinburgh. So a lot of these are big cities. So when they were formed, it was these industrial cities that were establishing universities. So the Russell Group is a self-selected association of 24 universities. So they've made this club basically, and they've kind of grouped themselves together and said, we're quite similar in the way that we work. We think that we're really great universities. We think we do great research. So we're kind of putting ourselves under that same umbrella as it was. Um, Before I mentioned these are the ones that were established in the Victorian times. So they're red bricks. You can see this picture here. That's the University of Manchester. It doesn't look so red, but the Gothic style is there. And if you visit a lot of these universities, they'll still have this style of building, which I think is very pretty as well. Um, so they're well-established institutions with strong reputations. So they've been around for a long time, some of them longer than others, but they've all been around for quite a few decades. And through that time, they've been teaching students, and each year, students will graduate and they'll have a good education, they'll have good graduate job opportunities, they'll be happy with how their student experience was. So they've developed these reputations over the years, which is really great. So just for comparison, when I was choosing which sixth form to go to, I had two options. One of them had been around for quite a number of years. They had a lot of um, like students have gone through them, and they had the A level results. So they said this many percent of students got A star to C in 4 A levels. And then the other option that I had was a brand new sixth form college. They had no results to go off, so I didn't know what their quality of education was like. So I opted with the one who had a strong reputation and had some previous results to go off. So that's what I'm going to compare with these Russell groups. They're well established, they've been around for a long time, and you know that you'll get a good education from them. That's not to say other universities who aren't Russell Group don't provide an excellent education. I'll be going over that shortly, but that's the benefit of a Russell Group. They have really strong academic staff because these institutions, they have great reputations. Academic staff want to go there to teach the students because they've heard it's a great place to teach. And because the staff is so good, they also have world-class research. So if you study maths, the teachers that will be teaching you, they'll be the top people in their field, and they'll be making breakthroughs in their topics. And that informs their teaching. So as I said before, you get the most up-to-date teaching because these places attract the best teachers who'll pass on their knowledge to you, which is really great. So this is just, as I said, a self-selected club. They've decided to group themselves together, that they all say, we're well established, we have strong reputations, we have great staff, we have great research going on, which is leading our teaching. So you can be quite confident that these are really good universities. You can look up the full list, it's on the side of this slide here, but you can read more about them online. So the university rankings. There's some universities which are really great places to study, but they're not part of the Russell Group. They're not an Oxbridge University. So it is worth looking at universities that aren't necessarily in those groups because some of them are really great places. Um, there's a few organisations who every year they'll collect some data, statistics, feedback, and then they'll make a ranking of universities across the country. So they'll bear in mind the quality of teaching, how much research is done by academics. They'll speak to students and find how their experience was, if they enjoyed it, if they think it was a good time. And all of this kind of data is put together and they'll make a ranking. So different organizations have different priorities in what they think is important in a student experience at university. So the rankings will differ, and I'll show you that in a moment. Um, so you can rank the university as a whole, or you can say, I want to look at chemistry degrees, and they'll do an individual ranking for institutions that teach chemistry. So if you know the subject that you want to study, you can look at the rankings for that subject. So an example at the bottom here, that picture is the University of Dundee, and they're ranked as the #1 place to learn medicine in the UK. But they're not a member of the Russell Group, and they're still one of the best places to study for this specific course. So it's worth looking outside of Russell Group at the great universities that there are and look at the certain subjects, because some universities specialise in some subjects over others. So you can see here, there's 3 different rankings. So these are the most popular organizations that have ranked universities. They're very trustworthy rankings. So there's the World University Rankings, there's the Complete University Guide, and there's the Guardian. So you can see here, they've all done a league table, and they're all slightly different. So some of them may be very similar that they've got in the top 10, but some of them do differ, and that's just because they have different priorities. So if you remember first, we spoke about Oxford and Cambridge, which are really popular across the world, and they're known for being great universities. So you can see here that they often fall at the top of the league tables for universities in the UK. And then we spoke about the Russell Group universities, and they populate a lot of the places in the top 10. The university rankings, they'll rank beyond 10, they'll go up to 50, 100, so all universities will be on there. I'm just showing you the top 10 for now. So there's a lot of Russell Group universities there, which shows they are very good places to study. But if you take a look, there's some universities on there which aren't Russell Group, but they're still really well established in the ranks. So University of St Andrews is #3 on the Complete University Guide, #2 on the Guardian. If you were just looking at Oxbridge and Russell Group, you'd miss this university, which is classed as top 3 in the eyes of 2 of these leaderboards. So other universities like Loughborough, Lancaster, University of Bath, Lancaster again, sorry, I just saw that twice. So yeah, it's worth looking outside of Oxbridge, outside of Russell Group, to see the rankings of other universities which are classed as really great places to study. So, reasons to go to these universities which are Oxbridge, Russell Group, and high ranking. They have a really great reputation. So the institution itself, as I said before, you know that they've been around for a long time, and students always come out and they say, we've had a great time. They go on to get jobs, and employers say, we think this member of staff is really great. We think they've had a really good education. So this reputation is quite important to make sure you know that it's a really good place to study. And the reputation of staff. So as I said before, these universities are the best ones in the UK. So they'll attract teachers, tutors, lecturers, and they'll be the best ones in their field. So they'll be doing the most up-to-date research, and they'll be passing that on to you through your studies. So you're getting top education from top teachers, basically. So the courses, because so many people come through these courses and they give them great reviews, which is shown by the fact that they're high up in rankings, you can assume that the course is good. Obviously, look specifically into the course and see if it's right for you. For example, if you're studying history and you like modern history, a course in history at one of these universities might not be modern history, it might be medieval history. So that course wouldn't be right for you if you wanted modern and they only did medieval, but it would be right for someone else. So you've got to look at the specifics of the course. But overall, in general, the courses are regarded as very good at providing you with a great education. These universities also have really great facilities. So because they're quite popular, well known, they get a lot of students wanting to go there. They get a lot of like research grants, which is because the academics are so good. So they have money to spend on making it a really great place for you to study. So things like a library are really important. You want good books, you want good access to resources, and also you want a good place to go and study. So you want to be comfortable there. You want there to be lots of tables, lots of computers, because if you go in the library and there's nowhere to sit or there's no computers for you to use, you can't really study. So you want a great thing like a really good library. Other facilities could include things like if you're an engineering student or there's a lot of technical experiments or processes involved in your course, you'll need access to resources so you can practice your engineering, you can see the different parts of this engine or whatever it is that you're working on. These top universities have the money to buy all of these resources for students to use and to improve your experience at university, because you get that practical experience looking at this equipment basically. And finally, support services. So support services are really important at university. So this can be things like a careers department, and they'll help you if you want to apply for jobs while you're studying, or if you're applying for jobs for after university, and you get lifetime access to careers departments from your university usually. Other support services could include disability support. So if you have something like dyslexia, they can help you out to make sure that you can study the best that you can. They can provide you with equipment, resources. What that equipment would be does depend on the university, but the great universities have great support for students to help them do well, which is why so many students have gone through university and got great degrees because they've had support throughout the process. So if you have any needs like dyslexia support, other disabilities, other things that you need help with to help you succeed at university, they'll have support staff specifically for that. So things like well-being and mental health are considered under those as well. So they're great places to study. So you might be thinking, why is this relevant to me now? You won't be applying for a few years, but it's great to have it in your mind at the moment. So because so many people want to go to these universities, they can't take everyone that applies. Some people get accepted, some people don't get accepted. So you'll submit an application and there's a few things that you'll put on there. And they'll ask you to have some certain grades. And by the time that you apply, you won't have sat your exams at sixth form or college yet. So what you'll have on this application is your target grades for your A levels or your BTECs. So you'll say, I think I'm going to get these grades because my teachers have said so. But also on your application, you'll have your GCSE grades. So if you have really great GCSE grades, they can trust that you'll get great A-level results or whatever option you're doing, and they can assume that you'll do well while you're studying at university. So if you get great GCSE grades, you're setting yourself up for a really good application so you can get into these universities. So also, as well as great grades, you need to think about the subjects that you want to study at GCSE and at sixth form or college. So think about what kind of thing you'd want to do at university and what subjects would help that. So say if I want to study English at A level and GCSE, I might do history because that's an essay-based subject. So if I'm spending my years at high school and sixth form or college and I'm studying loads of subjects where I write a lot of essays and I do a lot of analysis, those are great ways to develop your skills that you'd be using for this degree at university. Whereas if I spent school and sixth form or college and I was doing essay-based subjects and I didn't do maths or science, and then at university I applied for a maths degree, they'd look at my subjects that I studied and they'd think, can they do this subject? So you want to bear in mind what you want to study at university, what you'd want to do in the future, and let that inform your choices for your GCSEs and your A levels. because it's really important for your applications so that the universities know that you have the relevant skills. And so universities want students who are passionate about their subject. So, do you have a way at the moment to prove your interest for your subject? So you can't write an application and just say, I'm interested in history because I enjoy it in school, because there'll be someone else writing an application and they'll be saying, I enjoy history because I enjoyed it in school, and then after school um, I went on a taster day at university, and part of that taster day, I learned from an academic who taught there, and I wrote an essay. So you've not just shown that you're interested in it in school, you've done something in your own time to show that you do really enjoy it, and it's something that you want to go into. Because if you're passionate about it, if you're looking at it outside of school, then they'll think that's someone who's going to do well studying it at university. So you need to think of ways to demonstrate your interest for your subject. You can't just say, I'm interested in it. You need to prove that. And also, why it's relevant to you now, you can start thinking about what extracurriculars you can do outside of school. So that can be things like clubs, um, anything that your school or sixth form or college, or maybe outside of those. Um, Universities love those because it shows that you can manage your time. It means you're quite well rounded. You can kind of balance your priorities of schoolwork, homework, and your extracurricular. So it's really good for time management. So they love to see that on applications. So right now I have an activity for you. So if you could just pause this for about 5 minutes, take some time and think about if you were applying to university now, what could you put on an application? So even if you don't know what you want to study now, pick a subject to apply for and kind of put an application together. So you can see my example here. So that's my name, Alison. You can see my GCSEs and target grades. They are history, geography, ICT, English, maths, and I'm looking to study history, English and maths at sixth form. And in this example, I'm applying to study English at university. So why I want to study this course, I enjoyed studying Shakespeare in school, so in my spare time I joined a drama club and performed the play of Romeo and Juliet. So that shows my interest outside of school, and extracurriculars, netball team and student newspaper. So if you want to use these kind of categories and make your own application, pause that now and then come back when you're done. So hopefully you've taken the time out to fill in your application. So we're going to come back to that in a moment, but first we're going to look at two different applications. So imagine you're working at a university. You've had two applications come in for a chemistry course, but there's only one space, so you can only accept one of these applicants. Who would you choose? So applicant one has GCSEs in history, geography, ICT, English and maths, and they're going to be studying history, English and maths at sixth form. They want to study this course because they enjoyed it in school and they want to carry on. They think they want a career in science. Their extracurriculars, netball and student newspaper. And then compare this to applicant 2, whose GCSEs are science, PE, maths, ICT and English. And at A level, they're going to study chemistry, biology and maths. And under the why you want to study this course, they've put that they've explored the subject outside of school on a taster day where they created a research project. Um, they also read about the subject outside of school and they've said what they want to do outside of university. In their extracurriculars, they're a science tutor and they play football as well. So if you're looking for someone who is going to study chemistry at university, um, think about who you would accept onto this course. Um, I don't know if you have the same idea as me, but application 2 is the one that I'd accept. So the reasons why, both applicants have the same grades. I don't know if you noticed that, but they have exactly the same grades going on at the moment. But application 2 has very relevant subjects for a chemistry degree. So application 1, they have history, geography, ICT, English and maths, but they don't really have any sciences going on there. So when I'm reading this application, I might be unsure whether they'll have the the level of knowledge that you need to begin a chemistry course, because they haven't done it until this point. They've just said they enjoyed it in school, which wasn't for their GCSEs or sixth form or college. So they might not have the level of knowledge or the skills to complete this course. But applicant 2 they have science, PE, maths, ICT, English. They're all very relevant, and their A levels at sixth form are relevant as well. Chemistry, biology, and maths is really good if you do want to study science, if you do a couple of science subjects for your A levels or at your college. Because usually you'll do better in your science subjects if you have an accompanying science subject. That's just off some previous studies. So application 2 has more relevant subjects for the university course. And then the other part of it as well, applicant 1 says they're interested, but how do I know? Anyone can say, I'm interested in this subject at school and I might want to go into it in the future, but they've not done anything to prove that to me. Applicant 2 has proven that they're really interested in this course, they're really passionate about it because they've done stuff outside of school to demonstrate that they're interested in this. So if I can only choose one of these, I'm going to choose the one who's shown they're interested through their subjects and through after school activities, because I think that they'd succeed more in the course because they've demonstrated how passionate they are. So what we need to do to make our application stand out, you need to have great grades, so you need to keep working and do the best that you can. You need relevant subjects to demonstrate that you have the skills that the universities are looking for. So if you want to study a humanities subject, choose humanities subjects at school and sixth form or college, because that'll be relevant for your degree. If you think you want to study a science or a maths subject at university, study those in school and sixth form and college, because they'll put you in the best position. If you're not sure which one you want to go down, do a mix of them. So when you do decide what you want to do at university, if you want to go to university, you can have that on your application. So don't limit yourself too much if you're considering a couple of different subjects to study later on. So an interest in the subject outside of school, think about what you enjoy in school, what you might want to study at university, and what interests you can develop outside of school to support those. So maybe if you want to do a law degree, you can join the student council or a debate club, because those are kind of the skills that they'd be looking for in a law degree. I can't give you so many examples because it just depends on the subject, but just have a think about what you like, what your school offers, what opportunities you can find. Extracurricular activities to show you can manage your time, take responsibility, meet deadlines. Those are all really important at university. If you can't manage deadlines, you've missed your assignment, you're not going to get your grade. So you have a lot of independence at university, and extracurriculars show that you can kind of handle that independence. And yeah, just look out for opportunities where in your school now, when you go to sixth form or college, those things all look great on applications. And in the top here, we have a little quote from Jennifer Barton. She's a student recruitment manager at Durham University. And she says, "We often find that our applicants will have similar academic profiles. It's important for universities to see an applicant's subject knowledge and keen interest in the subject area." So that's someone whose job is to look at all of these applications and choose who gets accepted. And they've said that applicants have similar academic profiles. So they've all got great grades coming in. So that's just something that you need. But what separates you out from the rest of the applicants is your keen interest in the subject area, which is why it's great if you develop it as soon as possible. So when you're applying, you can say, I've been in the debate team for 2 years, rather than saying, I'm just interested in law because I think it would be interesting. Do something now so you can put yourself in the best position to stand out in the future. So we're going to try and put together a plan of action based on those points, that we need great grades, we need relevant subjects, and we need an interest in the area. So look at the application that you wrote earlier when you chose the subject that you'd like to apply for, and you put your target grades for GCSEs, what you want to study at sixth form or college, and why you're interested in that. So take a look at that and think, where do I need to improve this? If you already have great target grades, that's great. You can keep working towards those. If you don't have relevant subjects, maybe think about having subjects that kind of go well together with your university course. And if you can't think of any ways to express your interest, think of something now and then start working towards that. So you can really stand out for your applications to sixth form colleges and universities. So you do need to apply to those. So it'd be great if you can stand out at those, and it's especially good to kind of have these things ready for university. So if you just want to pause this for 5 minutes, think about what you need to do and kind of put together a plan of action. If that's a revision plan, some research into courses, or joining a club, just make a little plan of action. So hopefully now you've come back with your plan of action and you've thought of some steps that you're going to implement so you can get ready to go to one of these great universities. So the final take-home messages before I say goodbye today, just work hard and get the best grades that you can, because that's if you don't get the top grades, you might miss out on some of these places at universities. Start planning what you want to study at university. So when I was in school, I had no idea. I didn't do too much planning and I was a bit confused, and it would be great if you could research some courses now and think about what you'd enjoy. You could change your mind in the future. That is completely fine. But it's just nice to have something to work towards, a bit of an idea of a pathway in your mind. And then you can start developing your interest out of school. If you're interested in 2 subjects outside of school, maybe take on 2 little extracurriculars, keep reading around these different topics, and then that can inform your decision. If going back to the example of law, if you do join the debate club and you don't enjoy that part of it, maybe law isn't right for you. Maybe you want to go into politics or something else. Just keep exploring the different options for your future, because now's a great time to try. And always choose the course that is best for you. So we've spoken about why Oxbridge and Russell groups and leaderboards, they're all great. It just gives you a bit of guidance. They have a reputation about being great universities. But if those courses aren't right for you, then that university is not right for you. They've ranked in terms of general categories, and they've done rankings in terms of subjects, but they haven't looked at you personally, your priorities, and ranked them for you individually. So leaderboards can work as a nice guideline, but look around and find the best university and the best course for you. So all of these things, Oxbridge, Russell Groups, league tables, they're a guide, not a rule. So if you find a course that's perfect for you at a university that's maybe not so high in the rankings, maybe it's not a Russell Group or an Oxbridge University, but you think it is the perfect course for you, that's the one that you should go to, because it's not about league tables, they're just a guide, not a rule. So if you do have any questions that have come up because of this presentation, you're confused, concerned, anything, it doesn't have to be about this presentation either. You might have questions about student finance or being a student. Any questions that you have, you can talk to one of us. If you go to www.higherhorizons.co.uk/ask, and then you can find these little pictures of each of the hub officers. Send us a message and we'll get back to you as soon as possible and we'll respond to your question. So thank you very much for listening. Any questions, send them to higherhorizons.co.uk/ask. I hope this has been useful. I hope you start working on your plan of action, achieving your goals, and just getting ready to make that university application and put yourself in the best position that you can. Thank you very much.